In the 2025.01 update for DDM, we have made a number of enhancements for IronCAD. We have added support for IronCAD 2025, along with our version update tool, which can be found in the admin client. Under CAD and Neutral Files, CAD Settings, under IronCAD, and here we have the IronCAD version updater. This tool allows you to update all of your files to your latest IronCAD installation. We can configure which files are processed, drawings, parts, and assemblies. We can restrict the range of items that are updated, and we also have the ability to restrict how long this runs for. So we can run this until all files are updated, we can run it for a specified amount of time, or we can run it for a specified number of records. For the IroncAD integration, we will start by looking at changes to the load process. We now batch download files to improve load times, and when these files are downloaded, they are cached separately from the working directory. Through this process, subsequent loads are quicker. To simulate loading an item for the first time, I'm going to clear the cache and the working directory. And to clear the cache, we will use the client configuration tool. We will clear the cache here. Here we can also configure the amount of memory reserved for caching. We head over to the DDM client. We're going to load this assembly here. We've made changes to the load window, and the key point to notice here is the clear refresh parameters option. The clear refresh parameter option allows users to clear the save flag that will occur during the save process in cases where they do not have the ability to save the files in question. For more information on the refresh parameter functionality, please see the related update video. We'll continue to load this assembly. Here we can see the batch downloading. Here we have the load summary. At the top of the screen we can see each step that was taken, the batch downloading of the files, the updating of properties, and loading the items into the CAD environment. At the bottom we have the performance summary. Here we can see the specific times for each step. Our file server download took 2.4 seconds, and it took approximately 11 seconds to open the items into the CAD environment. If we now close that and clear the working directory, and this time when we load the item, the parts will be checked against the cached memory, and we can see that the total time to download these has reduced significantly. In the load summary, we can now see that the file server download took 0.1 of a second, so significantly quicker. This is particularly useful for remote workers on a VPN or other slower connections. Now we're in the CAD environment. We've made some changes to the DDM ribbon. We have added the ability to load the bill of materials editor directly from the ribbon. We've also added the ability to start the reserve process for open items directly from the CAD environment. We have made changes to the export elements as scenes. We now have the ability to select all items or individually select the scenes that we wish to export. We've made changes to the number of save options available. We have the Save Copy As function, When using this function, a copy of the file is saved to DDM, but the existing file remains open in the CAD environment. And most of your saves be completed using the standard save function. When we select this save option, DDM analyzes the open scenes and flags any items that have changed or that are new for saving into the database. So we can see here this assembly, because I've selected save, now requires saving. Within this window, we can now single select items. We can multi-select using the Control key and the Shift key. And we can select all using the CTRL-A shortcut. At the top of the screen, we can see our save options. We can mark things for overwrite. We can save them as new parts. We can save as new issue. And we can mark items as unchanged. We can specify to show only items that require action. We can specify to include drawings. We can expand all and collapse all here. And we can specify whether thumbnails, neutral files, and mask properties are generated. Within the Options tab, we can configure our compulsory attributes, as well as our thumbnails, neutral files, and mask properties. And we can also specify whether the save summary is shown. For now, I'm just going to quickly cancel this save. And we'll begin the save again. And this time I'm going to select these items and mark them for overwrite, producing thumbnails, neutral files, and mask properties. Much like the load process, we can see each step that is taken during the save process. So we can see properties being updated, neutral files and mask properties are updated. And when this is complete, the save summary will load. At the top, we can see each step that was taken. And at the bottom, we can see our performance summary again. So we can see that we saved 4 items and we generated 3 neutral files. This took 45.2 seconds. Obviously, doing these steps manually would take significantly longer. We close that summary and begin that save again. Selecting the same files, marking those for overwrite, but this time we will turn off neutral files and mask properties. Here we'll be able to see that we can optimize our save process by configuring which files are generated. So again, we have our steps completed at the top and our performance summary at the bottom. We've reduced our time to 38.9 seconds by removing mask properties and neutral files. So when you're working on a large assembly, you can configure the saves to remove these files during all the saves as you work through it. On the final save, I would suggest turning those options back on to make sure the most up-to-date information is available in the database. If we complete this save process again, this time we are going to leave the top item as overwrite. The second item, I'm going to change the state, and this time I'm going to set the state to released. This means I can now up issue this component using the new issue option, and I will reserve this to the workbench. The third and fourth item I'm going to mark as new items using multi-select. With multi-select, I can also assign numbers to multiple parts, as well as categories. If I select OK, I will be prompted to reserve any items that aren't reserved to a folder, so that will be our new items. And you can see we can now complete different types of save in a single save window. Now, whilst these saves were completed, we first save locally, and then these files are handed over to the background uploader. This means that if you have a slower connection, you can continue working on your component whilst the files are uploaded in the background. We'll save this one last time. This time we will only save the top level component. But under Options, I will now turn off the Save Summary. And this time, when the save completes, we will be returned to the CAD environment. If we now close this scene, we'll have a look at the Clear Working Directory tool. The Clear Working Directory tool is now more intelligent. When we open it, it analyzes the files in your working directory. These items are all flagged in green and flagged as up to date in DDM. If any items are flagged in red, this means that DDM does not recognize the files, or it means that the files that are in DDM do not match those in your working directory. We have also added the ability to back up the deleted files, and we can specify how many days those files are kept, or we can specify the file size. We've added the ability to open those backed up files, and we've also added the ability to clear those files. Because these are all green and match the database, I'm safe to clear the working directory.